So police turned up at Craig Thomson's house today. They did it at 7 o'clock in the morning. The media was tipped off by some police. This annoyed Victorian police. But honestly, who cares about Craig Thomson's privacy in all of this? This bloke has gone out there and said, I'm an innocent man. He's cooperating with police. In fact, let me tell you, this is exactly what he said outside of his house today.
So I've done nothing wrong, that we are fully cooperating with the police in relation to this investigation.
So, completely helping the police with their investigation. What was interesting about what they found in Craig Thomson's house today, apart from computers and all the rest of it, there was 5 bags of evidence that was taken from his house and also his electorate office. Among the things that were taken from there was a copy of his signature. You see, Craig Thomson hasn't actually offered a copy of his signature to the Victorian or New South Wales police. In fact, let's just test that claim that Craig Thomson has been cooperative with police. I had his lawyer on the radio today. The question is direct, the answer, amazing. How many times has Craig Thomson met face-to-face with Victorian police?
Well, we did none. If he did, it'd be against our advice.
So he's helping police, but he's not actually talking to them. This is the line that's running from the Craig Thomson camp at the moment. I'm completely innocent. My signature will prove that they made this up about the prostitutes, but we're not going to give you the signature until you virtually knock down my door at 7 o'clock in the morning, 18 months after these allegations came back into the media again. We're also supposed to believe that an innocent man who is the victim of a media and political conspiracy is so keen to clear his name that he hasn't picked up the phone and called police. That's the facts. That's not an assertion. It's not an allegation. It is what has happened. Craig Thomson is playing 2 games here. He's playing one with the media, where basically for every question that's thrown at him, he throws a question back at those asking him questions. And then there is the legal game, which is you have the right to silence. I would have thought that if you're an innocent man, you would want to clear your name ASAP, especially if you think that somebody was framing you. Craig, feel free to pick the phone up. Police don't always have to wake you and the rest of the street up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's talk about Craig Thomson, fellas, here. As we know, and as I've made it clear, there are two lines of defence that Craig Thomson is running. There's the legal one, which is his right to silence. He has not spoken to Victorian police. He has not spoken to New South Wales police. But then there's the public version, the version that presented itself today out the front of his house after it was raided by police. Here's Craig Thomson.
This morning we had the police come and execute a search warrant in relation to the broader inquiry into the National Office of the Health Services Union. They took a couple of documents. I volunteered a couple of documents. It was part of the routine procedures that we fully expected, and we think that there are still some time before this investigation is concluded. I can reiterate that I have done nothing wrong and am very confident that the conclusion of this investigation, that will be the conclusion that the police reach as well. I don't expect to be charged in relation to this matter. I expect that at the end of the day, the position that I have taken where I spoke for over an hour in Parliament, which I've said for the last 4 years, that I have done no wrongdoing, will be vindicated.
Well, whatever world you're living in, Tomo, because there is the second part. There is the legal defence that is being run. Now, here is a longer part of what I showed you before, which was a conversation that I had on the radio today with Craig Thomson's lawyer, where I would have thought that if you're as innocent, as free and clear as Craig Thomson presents himself in the public, in the media, in selected interviews, that the first thing you do is pick up the phone and tell the police. Alas, he's avoiding them like the plague. Face-to-face with Victorian police?
Well, we did none. If he did, it'd be against our advice, because we live in a democracy, and one of the absolute rights you have in a democracy is that you don't have to be interviewed by the police if you don't want to. Now, we tell every client who gives us money in exchange for our advice that you don't do that. You just don't.
I'll repeat the same question about New South Wales police. How many times has Craig Thomson met face-to-face with New South Wales police?
I'll repeat the answer. If he has met at all with them, I'd be disappointed that he has ignored our advice.
Now, we'll get to the political reaction here, but am I onto something here, Chris, is that there are two defences being run. There's the one for the cameras, and then there's the actual game that's being played, which is don't talk to the cops.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He gets. Look, I can't believe how cool and calm he is in front of the media all the time, saying there's nothing to see here, move along. He is like the Lance Armstrong of Australian politics. You know, he's just completely denying the reality and the evidence that's been put out against him. And yet, yeah, as you've uncovered there, he doesn't turn up and talk to the police. Now, if he really wants to clear his name, if he really does have an explanation for all the evidence we've seen unfold in the Fair Work Australia report and elsewhere, then he'd talk to the police, wouldn't he, and reveal it to them?
Well, Liam, to me, as I have said all the way through all of this, Craig Thomson's defence needs to begin with, I've never slept with a prostitute, and if I did, I used my own money. That's legal and that's fine. But also, if you are as innocent as he protests to be, don't you pick up the phone, call the investigators and say, hey, it's not my handwriting. Let me show you my signature 10 times over.
Yeah, I'm amazed that it's taken the police that long to actually execute the raid, you know, to be at his house. I'm amazed this is the first time they've been there. Just the guy that was telling us, just a week and a half ago, that Victorian police didn't want to talk to him at all, you know, that he was somehow sort of cleared. That was the imputation. And look, I mean, you've got to get this in context too, Paul. I mean, this bloke has 37 civil charges against him. And the Fair Work Australia allegations, you know, we're not talking 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 allegations. I mean, it's a Chinese telephone book, mate. Yeah. I mean, you know, and let's go back to the beginning. Why is he still in federal parliament? Now, I'm not asserting any sort of allegation or otherwise about guilt, innocence, whatever. You know, it's a fair comment. That we've got to go down that path, and it's amazing that his lawyer's using the analogy about the Kafka novel. I mean, that's hilarious, because that's the latest line in one of the episodes of Breaking Bad on cable TV. but the amazing thing is that he's still on the floor of the House, mate. I mean, if we had any suspect, you know, any thought about the dignity of Parliament, surely he should just stand aside while this is all taken care of one way or the other.
Well, there's also the whole question that he shouldn't have even been pre-selected by the Labor Party at the last election here. But, Joe, I mean, I just want to make it clear that I'm not off on some sort of crazy little right-wing rant fest.
Oh, you'd be the only one that wasn't.
Yeah, but there is something here, is that this bloke is saying one thing in front of a camera, but he's actually doing something else.
Yeah, look, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's Michael Egan, the great New South Wales Treasurer, had a fantastic saying, which was, never kick a dog. He said, as my father used to tell me, you should never kick a dog when it's down, unless it's showing signs of getting back up again. And Craig Thomson, I don't think, is really showing it. Well, but he does. He keeps trying to get back up again. And we all know he's defeated. And he's the last Japanese soldier on the island. No one has told him the war is over. The planes are gone. It's all done and dusted. But so I think it's just...
Well, he's got a lieutenant next to him in this lawyer who's actually willing to arm up even and get more aggressive. You saw him, I mean, the interview that he did with Kieran Gilbert in PM Agenda will show you a bit of that. I mean, it's extraordinary fronted that he's saying, no, this bloke's innocent and all of you blokes have taken, men and women have taken nasty shots at an innocent man for 2 years.
It's just like Matthew Newton's lawyer. Like, these guys are just, you know, they want to earn their money. They're just going absolutely ballistic. They decided the best defensive is a good offensive, so they're just going, blah, 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 I'll sue you if you say any of this. How dare you say this? And if I get more outraged than you, then maybe you'll be scared and you'll back off. And it's just so stupid and it's just so pointless, and the Parliament is just so unbecoming as a result of it.
But you know, I disagree about him having to be out of Parliament. I mean, we have laws, and unless he's broken the law, unless he's convicted, then he should be allowed to remain in Parliament. And he hasn't been convicted of anything yet, and he says he's innocent. But the point is, he's actually been deferring all of the resolution of this. You know, he could have gone to the police and given them all the information and tried to clear his name. He's deliberately stringing this thing out, and we're all heartily sick of it. And we're here today again, he's still not talking to the police. I mean, clear it up, Craig. Well, get rid of it.
Liam, you go.
Chris, what sort of accusation do you have to have levelled against you in order not to sit in Parliament, in order to sit on the sidelines?
Yeah, look, I think it's a problem.
How far do you go?
Well, look, the Labor Party have suspended him from the Labor Party. As I understand it, he's not actually completely expelled from the Labor Party. He's only suspended. But
that's great. He's sitting on the crossbench next to Peter Slipper. I mean, terrific bedmate there.
I agree with you. It's a big problem. But under the law, unless you're convicted of a crime, you have the right to keep your seat. And I think, his electorate deserves to be represented in Parliament. I mean, I think you'd think if he had the dignity that you'd expect of a politician, he would resign and go off and clear his name. Or if he really was worried about the situation, he would go to the police, try and expedite this process and clear his name.
There's politics that I want to get to here on top of all of this, which is Tony Abbott's reaction to it. Here's part of what he had to say today.
This does raise very serious matters for the Prime Minister. Yet again, it is the Prime Minister's judgment which is in question because for months, indeed years, she kept saying that she had full confidence in Craig Thomson. She now needs to explain how she could say that given what is coming out now into the public arena.
And the comments of Tony Abbott were, again, the focus of the lawyer. Now, it does seem that his lawyer is quite skilled at being able to start off yet another distraction. This is what I was saying about when you get asked a question, the Thompson camp responds with another question, so then we have to... You get what I mean. This ends up being one of those endless moments where the dog not only is caught up to its own tail, I think it's already eaten its hind legs. But anyway, here's Craig Thomson's lawyer here on Sky News earlier today.
That Mr Abbott is alleging that my client has committed criminal wrongdoing. If Mr Abbott has evidence of that, he should come forward forthwith, or he should shut his mouth. We will not tolerate our client being condemned by innuendo or ageing student politicians mouthing off. This is unacceptable conduct. Our client is an innocent man. Someone, somewhere in the background, is manipulating the institutions of the state for their own political purposes, which is, if I may understate the situation, improper.
That's a haymaker when you start saying that the police are running off doing political gear. And by the way, to make a point, I'm going to lean forward like he did. I suggest you do the same, Joe, for this segment.
But I mean, but this is the thing. I mean, this is why it's the same reason why any lawyer takes a case like this. I wouldn't be surprised if he's doing this ex gratia because Tomo's got no money to pay anyone.
And there's a bit of tension that comes with
this. This is just one giant ad for this guy. Like, imagine sitting around the Nippon Club after a hard day at court and saying, so what was your case today, mate? Oh, I did Craig Thomson. You go, whoa.
Hey,
this guy's he's playing politics there as well. I mean, why isn't he taking a swipe at Julia Gillard, who's forced Tomo out of the Labor Party?
Correct.
Perhaps she should be in his sights.
Yeah. Now there is a question here that the Thompson camp, and I noticed a few people did get quite angry about this today on Twitter. Well, and the Victorian Police were annoyed about it as well. The media was informed that this raid had taken place. Now, the Victorian Police believe that it's the New South Wales Police. The New South Wales Police say they didn't do it, and reporters were more than willing to say that it's their sources when it comes to this aren't always just the police. Remember, there are other people who live in Tomo's street. But the question of should the media have been there at all? Liam, to me, this is the way reporting works. This wasn't a standoff with a man who was armed to the back teeth. This wasn't a violent drug offender. This is a fraud case. Surely no police are in danger because some camera crews are at the front.
Oh, yeah, mate, I think that's a complete smokescreen, isn't it? The point is, as you're saying, I mean, thousands of Australians every year, faced with similar situations, whether it be raids or some sort of police activity directed toward them for a variety of, various potential charges or misdemeanours, they get treated the same way. So, he's not being treated any differently at all. That's the point. But I hope the lawyer is doing it ex gratia because the credit card's no good anymore, is it?
Very good point. Now, I mean, Joe, you've worked all different times as a reporter. This is how it works, is that there are plenty of times that you would be able to print stories that had plenty of information the police don't want out there yet, because it's fine for you to be able to build a story for a front page, but they're trying to build a case that stands up in court to the full legal scrutiny that's different than here's the story as best we know it.
Yeah.
That means you end up doing, not deals, but just there's a natural
Of course
relationship
you do.
between
Yeah,
police
you
and...
can call it deals, call it whatever you want. I mean, of course the cops and journos have always had a close relationship. Sometimes the cops want journos there. I mean, the number of times the cops will put out an APB and say, every journo in the universe come and, you know, hang out at this joint at 4 o'clock in the morning or whatever. We're going to do this massive drug bust and you'll see how tough we are on cannabis and, you know, here's footage of us hauling off all these dope plants. And then all of a sudden when they're raiding an MP, a publicly funded MP, they go, oh no, it's private. Give me a break. You couldn't get anything less private. I mean, we employ the... People. I was going to say a different person.
But this gets us back to where we were, Chris, which is that people are saying, and look, it might be considered a bit of a low shot to say this, but people are saying, well, hang on, what about the family? What about his privacy? There is a way that this could have been avoided, which is you go to the police. They don't have to come to you at 7 in the morning, but the relationship between police and media, is it too close? Were they putting on a show to say, hey, look, we're investigating this bloke?
Look, there's some good journos working on this story day and night. Don't forget Kate McClimate we've had on set here, Ian Higgins at our paper. I think Robert Avadia was on from 7 was onto this early today. I mean, these are good journos. They have close relationships with the cops and they find out about it. And look, it's no skin off the police's teeth, as you say. There's no danger to anyone. Look, they were at Tomo's house for hours anyway. So even if the neighbours had rung up after the police arrived, everyone would have got there in time to get some pictures. I think it is a furphy. Look, we all feel a bit of sympathy for Tomo's wife and children, but unfortunately it's the situation they're placed in, and the media hopefully leave them out of it as much as possible. But I do want to go back to some months ago. We talked about his wife coming out publicly on this show. She'd come out and written an article, and one of the things I said then was, well, the trouble is her coming out publicly and defending her man is she sort of makes herself part of the story as well. I said then that I thought she should just try to stay right out of this because it's his problem, not hers.
Well, and because probably of writing those pieces, there were photos today of his wife inside the house taken with a long lens. Now, 9 times out of 10, I would think that it's inappropriate to show things like that. I think it's line ball when it comes to this, but depending on your view of how the family have handled it like that, informs whether it should or shouldn't have happened.